Good morning again. I hope you had a little more coffee and you're ready to listen what's out there for New York Liberty, women's sports, and SeatGeek. I would like to introduce my guests today. I have Keia Clarke, CEO of New York Liberty. She is entering her 12th season, right? 12th season. And she's been promoted to CEO in 2020. She also served as Liberty Manager of Marketing and VP for Team Business Development. Before that, you actually negotiated the Yes Network deal and brought the New York Liberty to, I guess, the first screen. And then prior to joining the Liberty, Clarke worked in all areas of WNBA business as a member of team marketing, business operations, and NBA, WNBA league office. She also worked as marketing analyst for Golf Digest magazine, which, if you have time, tell me more about that. And you also have children, and you live in New Jersey. Thank you so much for being here. And I have Paula Segal from SeatGeek, and she leads consumer product at SeatGeek, overseeing strategy, ideation, and execution of all product development for the fan experience and the supply side of SeatGeek. Paula helped SeatGeek move from a ticket search aggregator to a two-sided marketplace via product management, and her interest in technology started, I think, in a way, in a moment of her life that was difficult, and she realized how important it is to bring technology to the table. She took some roles at NY-based startups. Health tech startup was her first, stop in technology. She wanted to bring more efficiency to healthcare data sharing, and then she ventured into 3D printing, and then she found herself at SeatGeek. She is, we're both alumni of NYU, so we're like here representing NYU in Columbia, and she resides here in Brooklyn with her son Jacob and her husband. So I don't want to talk too much, but I wanted to talk first about SeatGeek and how the role SeatGeek plays or wants to play in empowering leaders, women leaders in sports. And so maybe we can start from there.
Yeah, sure. So several years back, we started an employee resource group, Women at SeatGeek. And when we first came together and said what we wanted to do, one of the things we really cared about was lifting up women internally and externally. So internally, we do lots of things like education and mentorship programs. But externally, we've worked to, for instance, we brought on Laurel Richie, who's the former head of the WNBA, as one of our board of directors, and then partnering with people like Keia here and speaking on panels and really helping elevate leaders in sports, and in particular, women's sports.
And on the other side, I think you can go back, 12 years is not a short amount of time. And what did you see happening, what changed, what should keep changing? Can you tell us a little bit about that history and how'd you get here?
Yeah, well, first I'd like to say really, really excited to be with all of you here today, and shout out to NYU because I went to grad school there, so we're 3 for 3 up here. So much has changed, and you read a little bit of my bio, but for all intents and purposes, I've spent the majority of my career in and around the WNBA. So I started at the league office and then transitioned over to the Liberty, and so much has changed that I can't even talk about, the differences, especially in the digital space, especially in the tech space. I remember on my first day as the marketing manager at the Liberty, my boss said, well, I've been manning Twitter and Facebook. You take Facebook, I'll take Twitter. And that was the extent of the digital platforms that existed at that time. And I wasn't really into social media. I'm still not a huge social media person, but when I reached beyond just the influx of social streaming and where fans can watch games and how fans can really access women's sports, that's come a totally long way. And then I think all of the different, new innovations that have come along throughout this time, it's really important that women's sports and that women as consumers and women's as part of the fan base are a part of that trajectory. They're a part of that change. So I'm really excited. It keeps me on my toes. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the projects we've worked on, but there's always something new to learn, and there's always something to uncover that helps us reach our level as a franchise and as a league.
And you told me in the background a little bit about how to engage different demographics and through those synergies. Can you maybe let us know more about that? How does that work when you're trying to bring different generations to the sport, like from children to our age group to the older generations? What changes? Because technology and social media plays such a huge role in engagement. Some people don't have that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of it is testing and learning, and a lot of it is getting a feel for what the consumer base is really looking for. Us being here at Barclays Center, and this is our second season actually playing in this building, just the mere fact that this is now a SeatGeek building. We had never had digital tickets even, and I know many teams had been transitioning to digital tickets, and we were a little bit fearful because our core fan base primarily skewed older. So, there were markets out of the 12 teams in the WNBA that said, this is it, we're going digital. And we're talking 4 or 5 years ago. And because of COVID, I'll talk about that as a silver lining. We went digital, and then we had the, even better opportunity to do it with SeatGeek. And I've heard so much positive feedback about just how much easier it is, and then how much we can do beyond the ticket.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So I've been at SeatGeek for 7 years now, and in 2015 we were still talking about PDFs, and we were talking about printing, and I'll admit, in 2015 when I went to events, I had the ticket on my phone, but I still printed it out. I printed out my boarding pass. You never know. And now here we are in 2022, and none of us have a printer, and everything is digital, and it's such an interesting shift. And you're totally correct. That was something with COVID that it really accelerated that switch to digital. And now at SeatGeek, what we spend a lot of time thinking about is how is a ticket more than just a ticket. So your ticket is no longer just a barcode. It's not just a string of numbers. It's really, it gets you in this front door, but then it unlocks a whole experience here at the arena. And so it might be about mobile food ordering, it might be about buying your merch, but it's also all sorts of engagement and sports gambling and the whole sort of second screen experience. And to your point about engaging other generations and demographics, I think we've seen that, especially in sports, the younger generation has actually largely been ignored, and especially as you get Gen Z and younger millennials with a lot more purchasing power, figuring out ways that we can engage younger audiences with not just getting them here, but also the whole experience and engaging them at the live events.
Talking about live events, we're finally, at the end of the pandemic. We can come back to the stadiums, filling these seats. What are you planning for that moment of full on back to normal? I know that this been a while that we didn't use masks inside, and then we actually could attend in live events. But what is 12 months, maybe 2 years, 36 months from now? What are you looking at? What are your goals, and what's coming? You mentioned a little bit, but can you maybe give us a little more?
Yeah, it's really, so at SeatGeek we have what we call Rally, and that is the in-event and at-event experience. I think of it almost as your event concierge, so it helps you get here. Anything from directions and a lift integration and weather to when you get in, what you want to do, where you want to go. Where is the nearest bathroom? So I took my 3-year-old to a Mets game a couple weeks ago, and it actually really renewed my appreciation for the million things going on at Citi Field, a giant stadium, and having a 3.5-year-old not sure if he wanted to be there, on the verge of this is the coolest thing I've ever done, and this is very scary in a lot of people, and thinking about well, I didn't need to actually miss 2 innings of the game to wait on a Mr. Softy line, because I could have ordered that in an app. or I didn't have to make a wrong turn and then double back to find the family bathroom or the kids' batting cages. Like, there's so many things going on, but really thinking about Rally as a platform that you can hook into. And what's fun about partnerships with Barclays and the Liberty is that we get to partner together, understand the Liberty's fans, and then build things really custom for them. So whether it's the pain point of missing game time because you're waiting in line for food, or wanting to have the right jersey, like waiting at your seat for you, or knowing more about the players. Maybe you're a new fan and you don't know as much about every single player and you want the stats. Maybe you're into gambling and you want to be betting in the game. Like, there's so many things, and we're really excited about partnering with Keia and her team to build those sort of custom personalizations for fans.
And you guys have some new projects coming very similar to what she's describing, using new technologies. I don't know if you want to talk about it today with us, a little bit of what's coming in terms of NFTs and your partnerships with different companies.
Sure. Almost every time that we're looking to do something, we're a basketball team. We're about the W's and the L's, more W's than L's, hopefully, coming in our future. But so when we're looking to embark on something that is innovative and something that does involve technology, it's primarily through partnerships. So we talked a lot about SeatGeek. We also recently announced a partnership with Coinbase. And the premise of that relationship was really about educating women and youth about the crypto space. And I think it's an area that, like most things, sometimes it's male dominated. It's big business, it's, really tech speak, and we want to be that conduit because that's where we're comfortable. Speaking to women in a women's predominantly supported audience. We're more 50-50 on television, but in arena, our audience skews to women. So really it's about how do we introduce folks to what is happening right now in current events? How do we maintain that we're not lagging behind as a women's sport, and making sure that, fans are really understanding the benefits that they could be accessing. So Coinbase is one partnership. Another is Xbox. They're one of our partners, and we have some really exciting projects coming up with them later on this year that I'll not share publicly yet, but super exciting. And then lastly, sort of related to the crypto space is NFT. Back in May, we actually were the first WNBA team to drop an NFT collection, and really the catalyst behind that was, again, how can we test and learn? How can we provide for memorabilia to be collected by our super fans or the people who want to support? Or how do we introduce a base of people who may not be interested in basketball, who may not be interested in the Liberty, but they are collecting NFTs. And really, it happened super organically. We launched our schedule in December, and we launched it with this really neat idea of a nail campaign. So a lot of our players, their hands are their craft. They're well manicured for most games, and we actually had a custom manicurist come in and do team logos on their nails. So we invited some of the players, we invited some media members, some influencers, and recorded the entire thing. So when the schedule did drop, what you saw was, Liberty versus Connecticut, but it would be nail art with their colors and their logos. And our governor, our owner, actually saw the video and said, "This is really cool. This is an awesome video. We should NFT it." And that was the beginning of, the project that, launched ultimately 5 months later, really well received, and our fan base, it gave them something new and fresh. We probably had people downloading and creating Coinbase accounts and, really taking their first step into the world of NFTs and really learning what it was about, just simply because they're associated with this team or they have a love for this team. And on the flip side, if you're trading and you're buying and you're reselling, this was something that was unique, that was an intersection between sports, between women, between nail art, which is another explosion. So it's really just about being, a part of the movement and a part of what's going on and what's current.
Unlike us, right?
Yeah.
There, but
I'm a nail biter, so you couldn't count me in that one.
It's such an interesting space, and at SeatGeek we get asked about this all the time, about NFTs, and what I love about what the Liberty did is it's actually really about driving fan engagement and creating value for fans. And this has always been where SeatGeek starts, is how do you drive value for fans? How do you create a better experience? How do you have fans feeling great? And so coming at it from this really like fan first mentality, I think is the kind of interesting things that you can do with NFTs, and how sort of, a new technology comes out and you're trying to figure out what's the best way to use it and what's the best way to leverage it. And I think finding things that resonate with your fans and create value there is the right way.
Is it really, I mean, the response you got, I'm sure it was positive, but we also keep hearing some problems around crypto partnerships and how some teams got their hands caught in the fire and then they didn't really unlock that value and it backfired. But is there a worry, around that crypto partnership still, or is it going to be handled differently because now we know and learn from those incidents?
Yeah, I mentioned it before. I think it is about testing and learning, and there was a ton of due diligence that went into, the partnership with Coinbase, but also the NFT project. And we were not without, people with commentary, people on social media making comments. And really, it's about, making sure that you have the research and the work that was done, and who we chose to partner with. It was an eco-friendly company, and, I even was educated at that moment. I'm not an expert by any means, but, to be sure that we were above the board and that we were doing something, to Paula's point, that was really based and steeped in how do we engage with our fans. It was not malice. It was not trying to, make $1 million on it. It was about a collectible. If you're a person who likes autographed items and you're a person who likes to, meet players, how do you create experiences that get you that access? And then if that's where it's going in the future, we didn't want to wait to test and see what that was going to be about.
Another question that I have around fan engagement and what's possible for the future. I know that the generation coming now, they're much more attached to their screens. And what is the strategy to bring them from there to real sports, from playing, from engaging, from coming back to the stadiums? What are you thinking around that?
Yeah, Keia and I were just talking about this before. Her son and Roblox, and my son, who's a little bit younger and somehow learned to type his name on my phone yesterday. So it's really about these digital experiences, and I think all of us can identify with some level of frustration. You just see people sitting there staring at their phones all the time. I do it too. We have short attention spans. I fall prey to this. I'm watching TV, I'm doing a crossword puzzle, I'm scrolling through Instagram, and I'm coloring with my kid, and somehow I have 7 arms and I'm doing it all at the same time. But that's the world that we live in. And then you've got a basketball game or a baseball game and they're running 3+ hours. And so it's really about how do we provide all of that engagement, but still doing it in real life, at the arena, at the stadium, in an engaging way. What are the reasons that you should get off your couch, come experience the magic of live events? And that, to me, is what it's all about. I am a huge live events fan. That's why I work at Sea Geek. I grew up going to baseball games every single Sunday with my dad. It is magical to me, and I think it's magical to everyone, and it's just harnessing that and figuring out how can we speak to the realities of modern day, how can we embrace our phones and embrace everything digital, but do it together, do it all together in this stadium.
I completely agree. I think it's about meeting, especially the younger generation, where they are. Not to be a focus group of 2, but my children are 10 and 8 years old. They've obviously been to, hundreds of basketball games at this point. But really, it's about that connectivity when they're not at the arena. Their streaming experience, the short form experience, highlights and different elements that we can put on social. And while they're not completely on social media, they're looking over my shoulder when I'm on my social media yet and still. So I think there are going to be other opportunities. There's ways that we can sort of meet in the middle, as you were saying, where it's I want everybody to be at live events. This Thursday we play at 7 p.m. here at Barclays Center. we want people to experience and touch and feel and hear, and the music and the mascots and the players larger than life. All of that is a real thing, but make no mistake, like, we're all still on our phones, but what can we do with the Jumbotron? What can we do at the concession stands? What can we do in the merchandise store that really, gives you a reason to have that tech experience, but also be in the moment? So it's about, I think, an even balance, and, we could obviously do more. I think that's where opportunity, the sky's the limit, especially in a league as young as ours. This is the 26th season in, just at a generation where there are people in our league who weren't born when the WNBA started. So it's kind of like, we need to just level up and be where they are and meet them where they are and deliver content where they can receive it.
Yeah, we found so much about actually delivering content where they are. So at SeatGeek, for us, this is a lot about partnering with influencers and YouTube videos, podcasts, advertisements, really figuring out where your audience is spending their time and meeting them there. And to Keia's point, one of the things that's so fun about partnering with the WNBA and also with MLS teams for us is it is this really young league and willing to try things.
Yeah, I think that's where, especially for young girls, finding those right role models. And if they are inside a stadium sharing that experience, they want to be closer to that person. Therefore, they're going to be more attracted to come in real life to the stadium. But I think maybe one very specific question towards SeatGeek, and I think I just thought of asking what's next for SeatGeek, and then I will think about what's next for you. But let's start thinking about what's going on in that space. We heard some news around it with your an investment deal, and maybe some of our guests already know, but what's next for SeatGeek now that that deal is not on the table? Is it an IPO? Are you raising more money? Are you growing? What is going on with you guys on that end?
Yes, so we are growing like crazy. In Q3 and Q4 of 2021, we put up record-breaking numbers. We're very excited, quite bullish about our long-term growth, and we're on track to reach all of our long-term goals. The market is not so bullish right now. I think actually as of yesterday, it's officially a bear market. So perhaps not the roller coaster we wanted to ride today, but very, very focused on putting our heads down, working towards our long-term goals, and we will be calling you first when we have more news to share soon.
We'll be very happy to report that. And how about for Liberty? What's next? What's in the future?
Yeah, accessibility to women's sports is still a work in progress. How fans come to us, how fans consume, and I'm speaking specifically for the New York Liberty at this point, is still a challenge that I wake up with every single day. So I think what's next for us, and we're starting to see more and more of it, is the ability for people to see a game, see content, and really immerse themselves and fall in love, quite frankly. If you've never been to a game, I would encourage all of you to do so. But, the fact that all of our basketball games are either on a linear television network or streaming this season is the first time. For the first time in 26 years, I think that's happened, where all of the home games and all of the away games. So if you're a fan, awesome, you see everything. If you're a casual fan or you don't know that you're a fan, you need the opportunity. The access has to be there. So that's really what we're focused on, is just increasing accessibility across the board.
I think that's amazing. And I think if you don't have any other topics that we should tackle today, I think we can leave a little coffee break for all of you. And then when you come back, you'll have my colleague Eben and his guests, Sarah Slane, Chris Bevilacqua, and Kyle Christensen, talk about state of the industry, marketing, advertising amongst giants, and economic uncertainty. But thank you so much for being here and giving us these amazing insights. I'm going to be in your next game, so hopefully we'll see you at the Mets game, and hope everyone will join women's sports in this arena soon.
Thank you.
Thanks so much,
everyone.